The alien warship Clothon hovered like a giant beast in space. Inside its steel belly, lights flickered. Sharp voices echoed in a strange language. Alien soldiers walked with pride, tall, strong, and powerful. Their armor was dark red, their faces marked with silver tattoos, and in the middle of them walked a human, chained, silent, eyes straight ahead. His name was Daniel Cross. He had been captured 2 days ago during a raid on a small outpost near the border worlds. The aliens had expected him to cry, beg, or break down. He didn't. He stood tall, even with bruises on his arms, even with cuffs around his wrists. He looked directly into the eyes of anyone who stared at him. The aliens didn't like that dot especially. Commander Yelrath. She was taller than Daniel by almost a foot. Her blue skin shimmered. Her armor was heavy, decorated with battle medals. She had never lost a fight. She believed all humans were weak, small-minded, soft. So why did this one not bow? Human, she hissed, stepping in front of him. You will kneel, now. Daniel didn't speak. He just stared. Without warning, she slapped him. The sound echoed in the metal hallway. The alien guards chuckled. One even whispered, "He'll cry now." But Daniel didn't cry. He didn't fall. He stood, blood at the corner of his mouth, and smiled. That smile made her angrier. "You are a joke," Yelrath growled. "A pet, a beast who speaks nothing. But I'll make you obey." She poked his chest with a long claw. "One by one, I will strip you of pride." Daniel still said nothing. They brought him to the training arena. Not to train, but to be humiliated. The arena was filled with aliens. Soldiers, officers, even young cadets. Everyone wanted to see the human get crushed. Yelrath stood at the center and motioned to him. "Remove his chains," she ordered. The guards hesitated. "I said, remove them." She snapped. The cuffs fell to the ground with a loud clink. Daniel rubbed his wrists. His arms were covered in healing cuts. But still he didn't flinch. "Didn't move back. Pick up the stick," she said, tossing him a wooden practice rod. "Defend yourself, human." Daniel looked at the rod, then dropped it. Gasps. Laughter. Why? Yelrath's eyes narrowed. "So you choose pain." She attacked. Swift, precise. Her training rod came down toward his shoulder, but Daniel moved. Just enough. Not to attack, but to dodge. He didn't strike back. He dodged again. And again. The crowd stopped laughing. He was fast. Too fast for a weak pet. Yelrath growled and swung harder. Daniel ducked, rolled, then stood again, calm, steady, breathing slowly. "You dare mock me?" she shouted. Finally, she landed. A strike across his back. He grunted in pain. His knees bent slightly, but he stayed standing. Still, he did not bow. Later in the holding cell, 2 alien guards talked outside his door. "I don't like this one," one said. "He doesn't act like the others." "He has no fear," the second replied. "Maybe he's broken in the head." Inside the cell, Daniel sat quietly. A faint smile touched his lips again. He was watching, listening, waiting. He knew their arrogance would be their weakness. He knew that they believed humans were nothing, and that belief would be their first mistake. The next morning, Daniel was marched out of his cell again. This time, Commander Yelrath wasn't wearing her formal armor. She wore a flexible combat suit, her long dark braid tied tightly behind her back. Her face was calm, but her eyes were burning. She didn't like what happened in the arena. She didn't like the whispers she heard in the halls. "Did you see how the human moved? He dodged the commander 3 times. Maybe humans aren't as weak as we thought." Those whispers were poison to her pride. She would crush them by crushing him. Daniel was brought to the food bay, where alien warriors usually ate. Alone, he was told to sit in a corner, far from everyone else. His tray had cold, dry meat and a half-spilled drink. It looked like trash, but Daniel didn't complain. He picked up the meat, smelled it, and took a slow bite. Across the room, Yell Roth watched him. Her voice was sharp. Not even a thank you, human. Daniel looked up, chewed slowly, then looked back down without a word. She stood and walked toward him. With one quick move, she slapped the tray out of his hand. The food scattered on the floor. The cup spilled. She waited for a reaction. Daniel bent down quietly and started picking up the pieces, her fist clenched. I said, respond. Daniel looked up and gave the smallest shrug. Later that day, he was forced to clean the battle training room on his hands and knees. No machines, no tools, just a wet cloth. As he scrubbed the floor, alien cadets passed by and laughed. Maybe he likes crawling, one said. Yellroth walked in, arms crossed. You're good at this, human. Maybe this is your true form. Daniel didn't speak. She kicked the bucket of water over. It splashed across the floor. You missed a spot, she smirked. Still he cleaned. Silently. Something about this human was wrong. He wasn't fighting back, but he wasn't broken either. He wasn't obeying, but he wasn't disobeying. It was like standing in front of a calm storm. Too quiet, too still, too dangerous. That night, Yellroth walked into his cell with a strange look in her eyes. She had brought a translator collar. It was rare for a prisoner to be given one. Put it on, she ordered, tossing it near him. Daniel didn't move. I said, put it on. He slowly picked it up and examined it. You want me to talk? He asked, the collar now blinking green around his neck. She blinked in surprise. His voice was calm, deep, controlled. You've been silent all this time, she said. Why now? Because you wanted it. Her face twisted. You speak only when told? No, Daniel said, leaning back against the wall. I speak when it's worth it. You're not like the others, she admitted. Daniel tilted his head. You don't know the others. I don't need to. I know. You're kind, weak, cowards, always begging. Maybe you captured the wrong kind. Yellroth stepped closer. Do you think you're better than us? Daniel didn't flinch. I don't think. I know what I am. You just haven't figured it out yet. She narrowed her eyes. You think biting me made you strong? He smiled. No, that just made you curious. That silence again. Tense. Alive. She turned and left. But her steps were slower this time. In the hallway, 2 soldiers waited. Commander? One asked. Yellroth didn't speak. She touched the small scar on her arm, the place he had bitten. It still burned. But it wasn't pain. It was memory. And it wouldn't go away. Back in his cell, Daniel stared at the metal ceiling. He knew what was coming. She wasn't done. Not yet. She was going to keep pushing. Keep testing him, trying to prove he was nothing. And that was fine, because every time she tried, she was only proving he was something more. The warship Clothan flew silently through the dark stars, but tension buzzed inside like electricity. Commander Yellroth paced the training deck. Her mind was sharp, but tonight it felt restless. She had tested the human for days now, humiliated him, hurt him, and still he didn't bow. He didn't shout. He didn't fight back. He just watched. And that silence? It was eating at her. She needed to break him. Tonight. Daniel stood at the center of the training ring. His hands were free. His body was bruised, but he stood tall. Around him, dozens of alien warriors gathered to watch. Yellroth stepped into the circle. Her long legs moved like a predator ready to strike. She carried no weapon this time, just her claws. And her pride. This is not a fight, she announced. This is a lesson. Daniel looked at her, calm, no fear, no aggression. She hated that look. You'll kneel before this is over, she promised, circling him. He didn't answer. The crowd leaned forward. She struck first, a fast jab to his side. He twisted, a sweep toward his leg. He jumped back. Again. And again. She moved with speed and fury, but Daniel moved too, with focus, not rage. Every step was calculated. every breath controlled. He didn't attack. He just dodged again and again until she growled in frustration. You think this is a game? She lunged, claws out, face too close. And that's when it happened. Daniel didn't think. He reacted with one swift motion. He grabbed her wrist with one hand and bit her hard right between the thumb and palm. Her eyes went wide. Her body froze. The crowd gasped. Her knees buckled slightly, not from pain, but from pure shock. She stumbled back, holding her hand. A small trail of blue blood leaked down her wrist. The room went silent. Not a single alien moved. Not a single word was spoken. All eyes were on the human. Daniel stood there, breathing slowly, not smiling, not shouting. Just watching her. Did he just? One cadet whispered. He bit her. Another said, stunned. Yelrath's jaw clenched. Her pride screamed inside her. No one had ever touched her like that. No one had ever dared. Especially not a human. She looked at Daniel. He didn't flinch. Didn't look away. That stare hit harder than any weapon. You, she whispered, voice shaking, not from fear, but something deeper. Confusion. Why didn't he fear her? Why did that one act feel like a challenge, a message? She wasn't in control anymore. A soldier stepped forward, unsure. Commander, shall we restrain him? She raised a hand. No. Her voice was cold, sharp, but her eyes didn't leave the human. Take him back to his cell. Daniel didn't resist as the guards approached, but before leaving, he turned back once more. And gave her a look. Not of victory, not of revenge. Just understanding. And that made it worse. Back in his cell, Daniel finally sat. His jaw ached. His body was tired. But inside, something had shifted. He had made his move. He had spoken in the only language they understood. Power. Meanwhile, in her private chamber, Yelrath stared at the bandage on her hand. Her claws had pierced thousands, but this human's teeth had made her bleed. She didn't understand what this feeling was. Anger? Shame? Or was it respect? She turned on her communication screen and watched the playback. The bite. The silence. The eyes. And for the first time in years, she felt uncertain. This human wasn't broken. He wasn't a slave. He wasn't a pet. He was something else, something dangerous, and something fascinating. The news spread like fire through the warship Claytharn. The human bit the commander. He didn't flinch. He looked her in the eyes, and she froze. By morning, every hallway echoed with whispers. The alien crew once proud and loud now walked slower when they passed the human cell. Some stopped to peek inside but didn't dare speak. Something had changed, and everyone felt it. In the officers' mess hall, 2 soldiers sat in silence. Their food sat untouched. Have you ever seen a human do that? One finally asked. No, they always begged or obeyed. This one's different. The other leaned closer. Do you think he's dangerous? There was a pause. Yes, but not like a weapon, like a shadow. In the medical bay, Yelrath sat still as a medic wrapped her wrist. The bandage glowed faint blue where the wound was healing. She hadn't spoken much since last night. Commander, the wound is minor, the medic said carefully. But, may I ask something? Her eyes lifted. Why didn't you strike him back? Yelrath didn't answer immediately. She stared at the scar. I don't know, she whispered. The medic looked away. Even he felt something was wrong. This wasn't about the bite. It was about what followed. Silence. Stillness. Power. In the training halls, cadets trained harder than usual, but their eyes kept drifting toward the cell block. Curiosity had replaced cruelty. They wanted to see him, understand him. Some feared him, some admired him. Inside his cell, Daniel sat cross-legged on the cold floor. His hands were folded. His eyes were closed. Meditating. Thinking. He knew what he had done. He had broken their illusion. He wasn't their toy. He was the unknown now. 2 guards stood outside his door, whispering, "He's just one man. Why are we all acting like he's a monster?" "Because he didn't play by the rules," the other replied. "He's not scared of her." The first one laughed nervously. "Maybe he's too stupid to be scared." Daniel opened his eyes slowly. "Or maybe," he said, voice calm, "I just see through your fear." Both guards jumped. They hadn't realized the translation collar was still active, and he had been listening. Later, Yelrath stood before the High Captain of the fleet. "You've lost control," the captain said. "One bite, and now the crew doubts your strength." "I haven't lost control," Yelrath replied, jaw tight. "Then end this. Kill him. Prove your command." She paused. Her fingers curled into fists. "No," she said slowly. "Not yet." The High Captain narrowed his eyes. "Explain." "He is not like the others. If I kill him, I silence a challenge. But if I understand him, I might unlock something more useful," the captain scoffed. "You sound impressed." Yelrath turned to leave. "I'm curious." "That's worse." Later that night, Daniel was brought to a private chamber instead of his cell. It wasn't a prison room. It was almost comfortable. Food, clean water, a soft chair. He raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" Yelrath stepped in. "No guards. Just her." "I want to talk," she said. "I've already said enough." Daniel replied. "You bit me," she said plainly. "You poked too hard," he answered. Her eyes studied him. "Why didn't you attack me after?" "Because I didn't need to." That silence returned, thick, strange, alive. She walked closer. "You've made the crew nervous. Some now think you're more than human." Daniel gave a slight grin. "Maybe I am." She tilted her head. "You enjoy this game?" "It's not a game," he replied. "It's a mirror. You see yourself in how you treat others." She looked away. For the first time, she didn't know what to say. Daniel leaned forward. "You can fear me. Or you can learn from me." Outside, the guards listened with wide eyes. Inside, something unspoken passed between the two. It wasn't peace. It wasn't friendship. But it was no longer war either. It was understanding. And that was far more dangerous than a bite. The training arena was silent again, but this time, it wasn't a show. It was a test. Commander Yelrath stood in the center, her arms crossed, waiting. The arena was dim, only the center circle was lit. Around her, no cadets laughed. No soldiers mocked. Everyone was watching, because tonight, she had requested a rematch, and this time, she wanted answers. Daniel entered the circle calmly. His step steady, his eyes straight. Yelrath's gaze locked onto him. "You bit me, humiliated me," she said. "You pushed first." Daniel replied simply. "No more games," she warned. "Fight me, now." He shook his head, still not interested. "You will fight," she snapped, "or I will hurt you." Daniel looked at her hand. He noticed the bandage was gone. The scar was fresh but healing. "I'm not your enemy," he said. "That doesn't matter. I need to prove something." "To who? Me? Or them?" Daniel nodded toward the silent crowd above them. Yelrath's jaw tightened. She attacked first. A heavy, downward swing with her training staff. Daniel dodged left. She swept toward his feet. He jumped. Then she lunged forward. But Daniel stepped aside, letting her fly past. She growled. "Stop dodging. Stop trying to hit me," he said calmly. More whispers echoed from the crowd. They had never seen her miss this many times. Frustrated, she dropped the staff and went barehanded. She swung, clawed, shoved. Daniel didn't hit back. He caught her wrist once, but released it immediately. He was controlling the fight without hurting her. And that infuriated her. "You think you're better than me?" Daniel stepped back, breathing evenly. "No, I just don't need to win this way. You're making me look weak," she shouted. Daniel paused. Then step forward. Now face to face. Quiet. Still. And he said something no one expected. You're not weak, Yelrath. You're just lost. The entire room froze. She blinked. What? You don't want to beat me. You want to understand why I'm not afraid of you. Her fists shook. You're wrong. Then hit me. She hesitated. Go ahead, he said. Right. Now hit me. Break me. Crush me. Yelrath raised her fist, held it in the air, and slowly lowered it. The crowd watched in silence. She couldn't do it. Not because she couldn't win, but because she didn't want to anymore. Daniel stepped closer and whispered, You already lost the moment I didn't fight back. She stared at him, breathing hard. Not in rage, but in confusion. For the first time. She had no idea what to do next. She turned to leave, but the crowd began to clap. Not for her, for him. Human, the one who didn't fight, the one who didn't kneel. And somehow, the one who now stood above them all without ever throwing a punch. Later, Yelrath sat in her command room, staring at her hands. No scars, she whispered to herself. But I feel them. Her second in command entered. Commander, the crew, they talk about him like he's some kind of legend. He's just a man, she said. No, the officer replied. He's something more. You felt it, didn't you? She didn't answer. Because yes, she did feel it. In his new room. No longer a cell. Daniel sat quietly. A soft knock came from the door. It opened. Yelrath stood there. Alone. She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she said one word. Teach. Daniel looked up. What? She stepped inside. I want to learn. Why you don't fear. Why you didn't bow. Why your silence speaks louder than any weapon I've ever used. Daniel smiled faintly and nodded. Not enemies. Not friends. But something had begun. Something powerful. And it started not with fists, but with control. Asterisk. The warship Clytharn moved through silent space like a beast hunting in the dark. But inside the ship, something even more unusual was happening. Commander Yelrath, feared warrior, undefeated in battles, was now spending time with the one being she once wanted to break, the human. Daniel crossed. It started small. One visit, then two. No orders, no guards. Just questions. Yelrath stood in the doorway of Daniel's quarters, arms crossed. What do humans believe about strength? Daniel looked up from the small machine he was fixing. Depends. Some think strength is muscle. Some think it's patience. She tilted her head. And you? He didn't answer immediately, then said softly, Strength is control. Of your pain, of your anger, of your choices. Yelrath sat down slowly across from him. She listened, and that scared her more than any battle she'd ever fought. The next day, she brought him an alien device, broken, flickering, useless. Fix this, she said. He raised an eyebrow. Test, curiosity. She admitted. Daniel took it apart with careful fingers. Small tools. Quiet hands. In less than 20 minutes, the device beeped to life. Yelrath's eyes widened. You're not a soldier. No, Daniel replied. I'm an engineer. Why? Didn't you say that before? No one asked. She blinked. He smiled. From that day, she visited regularly. She brought broken things, tools, gadgets, old scanners. He repaired them all. But she didn't come for the machines. She came for the conversation. They talked about human planets, about war, about peace. He told her about earth, oceans, trees, music. She told him about her people, their rituals, their battles, and slowly, the silence between them no longer felt like tension. It felt like something new. But not everyone liked this. Change. In the officers' hall, whispers spread again. Commander visits him every day. She's giving him freedom. Next, she handed him a weapon. Her second-in-command, Jorik, confronted her. You've forgotten who he is. Yelrath stood firm. No, I've realized what he is. He's still our prisoner. No, she said, He's our mirror, Jorak frowned. You're letting him change you. She looked him in the eyes. Maybe I needed to change. Back in Daniel's quarters, he handed her a small glowing cube. What's this? She asked. Music. He said. She tapped it. A soft melody filled the room. Slow. Beautiful. Earth made. She froze. What is this feeling? Peace, Daniel answered. She sat down slowly, the sound washing over her. And for the first time since she became a warrior. She closed her eyes. Later she whispered, I don't know who I am without war. Daniel looked at her gently. Then maybe it's time to find out. That night, she didn't sleep in her quarters. She sat outside his room, alone, just listening to the music again. But deep inside the ship, someone else was watching. Jor racked. His eyes narrowed as he stared at the screen. She's lost, he said. She's falling under the human spell. He clenched his fists. And made a quiet call. Prepare the holding cell. Tomorrow we fix this. A strange bond had begun, but not everyone wanted it to grow, and danger was getting closer. The calm didn't last long. Commander Yelrath walked toward Daniel's quarters as she had for many days now. But today, the hallways felt too quiet. Shadows clung to the walls. The guards were missing. She tapped the door panel. No response. She stepped inside. Empty. Her chest tightened. Daniel? Nothing. Suddenly, a sharp voice echoed behind her. Looking for your pet? She turned sharply. Jor Rack stood there, flanked by two guards. Her second-in-command's eyes were cold. What did you do? She demanded. He's been moved, Jorak replied. To where he belongs. The lower holding cells. Yelrath stepped forward, furious. Under whose order? Mine. The crew no longer trusts you, Commander. You've gone soft. You've forgotten what we are. She raised her voice. He's not a threat. Jorak smirked. No, but he's your weakness. Daniel sat chained in a cold, dark room again. Back where it all started. But he wasn't afraid. He was disappointed. He had felt something change, not just in her, but in himself. Now it seemed the warship had snapped back to its old ways. Yelrath stormed into the lower cells. Guards tried to stop her. She pushed past them. She reached the door and slammed her fist on the panel. Let him out. The guards looked unsure. I said now. The door opened. Daniel looked up, calm as ever. I guess this would happen, he said. I trusted them, she whispered, stepping inside. I thought they could change. Daniel gave a sad smile. That's not your failure. That's their fear. She looked at the chains on his wrists. I should have stopped this. He stood slowly. You still can. Outside the cell, alarms suddenly blared. Red lights. Emergency sirens. The ship shook. Jorak's voice came over the intercom. Commander Yelrath has betrayed her people. She will be removed. All loyal crew, contain her immediately. Yelrath stared at the speaker. He planned everything. Daniel looked at her seriously. Then it's time to make a choice. Yelrath grabbed Daniel's hand and pulled him out. They ran through the corridors as sirens screamed. Guards blocked their path until Yelrath raised her voice. Stand down. This human is under my protection. Some hesitated. Some obeyed. Others attacked. Daniel defended, not with violence, but with traps, clever tricks, and quick thinking. They reached the ship's core, where command systems could be overridden. Jor Rack was waiting. You've chosen your side. He growled at Yelrath. She stood tall. No, I chose truth. You are throwing away your command for him? She glanced at Daniel, then looked back. I'm not throwing it away. I'm rebuilding it. Jorak charged forward, but Daniel stepped between them. He didn't punch. He didn't shout. He simply pressed a button, and a blast door slammed shut between Jorak and the controls. Smart, simple, human. Yelrath smiled. With Daniel's help, They rewired the command link and broadcasted a message across the entire ship. This is Commander Yelreth. I have not betrayed you. I have learned from him, this human you feared. And I will no longer lead with arrogance. I will lead with clarity, strength, and reason. If you stand with truth, then stand with me. Silence. Then slowly. Officers responded, Yes, Commander. We follow you. One by one, voices joined. Yelrath stood straight. And beside her Daniel. Later. That evening, peace returned to the ship. The traitors were removed. Yelrath remained in command. And Daniel? He was no longer a prisoner. He walked freely, now respected. Even greeted in her chamber. Yelrath poured 2 cups of warm broth and handed one to Daniel. He took it with a nod. No more cages. She said. No more bites, he added, smirking. She laughed. It was strange. Beautiful. Real. You were right, she said softly. I didn't want to fight you. I just didn't know how to understand you. And now? She looked at him. I see you. Daniel raised his cup. To equals. They touched cups gently. Not enemies, not master and slave. Just 2 souls, once worlds apart, now side by side.